Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of Knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, that podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today, we're going to have to cut it pretty short because, not only do I have a Wrecking Crew Wednesday tomorrow, but also I got so much stuff to do. Today's my branch's meeting in which I got to propose a motion that I've been working on about the convention resolutions. I also have a ton of grievances to work on, and on top of all that, I've been sick. I have this issue right now where I've got a lot of major congestion, and it's leading to nerve pain in terms of my teeth. It's pushing up against my teeth, and it's just causing consistent, awful, piercing pain. But, either way, that's fine. That's just my life lately. Everything will get better sooner than later. But, yeah, I just wanted to mention a few things today that I think were important. First of all, we're going to have Bill Kriebel on this upcoming Saturday, March 7th. Bill Kriebel, as you may already know, is running for NBA of his particular region over there in Pennsylvania. And he's got his own podcast. If you haven't checked it out, it's called 613. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I didn't get that wrong. But yeah, it's called 613, and he interviews people from across his region. And he's a great guy. I can't wait to have him on. But like you already know, we're going to have to give him some questions. So please, don't let me down. Give me some questions. Submit them to rosevillewreckingball@yahoo.com. As is always with Saturdays with Shrum, we're going to be able to ask Bill Kriebel anything and everything. And let's accept that challenge. Ask him easy questions, hard questions, anything you want. Ask him what kind of sports he played as a kid, if you want to. Whatever you think might define the criteria of somebody that you want to vote for as an MBA. So, like I said before, submit those questions to rosevillewreckingball@yahoo.com. And I'm going to put that in the description of the episode. That way you know exactly where to send them to. I need those questions by Friday. Also, we're also going to do tomorrow on Wrecking Crew Wednesday, we're going to talk about the winners for that contest that I posted. And then from there on, we're going to get those gifts to the people who won. But let's talk about the main topic today. And what it is about is, where there is smoke, there is fire. That is the theme of this discussion. Here in Roseville, we've had an issue that I thought was isolated. Yet it turns out it might be the next flavor of the month, depending on where you go. Here, there's a period of time where we had a long office day. A lot of stuff came in, and we had to spend a lot of time in the office, more than normal. And they started telling carriers to punch over to the street. This supervisor was new. I thought for sure it's an isolated incident of falsification. I was just going to, file for this. So I imagine this is to meet some sort of crazy goal set by the district. I immediately made the motions to file the grievance, but what I came to find out is that soon after that, a carrier from Louisiana messaged me about the same thing. Then another from Texas, then another from Florida, and one from Ohio. Immediately I understood where there is smoke, there may be fire. So, of course, I'd like to clear the air on it, when exactly we should be punching over to street time from the office. And I'll admit, I'm not an expert. This is just the arguments that I've always used. Correct me if I'm wrong. I challenge those who know better than me. If you do know better than me, let me know. But this is my best answer that I've always given my management team when we talk about this. And of course, it hasn't left the office. So hopefully it's correct. So take this with a grain of salt. But the answer, in my opinion, lies in the M39, which is incorporated with our national agreement under Article 19. And it reads in relevant part, 125.1, loading carrier vehicles. The carrier should take all mail for delivery to the vehicle at the same time using a hamper or other signed conveyance. Avoid extra trips to the vehicle unless they are absolutely necessary due to the quantity of mail. After clocking onto street time, carriers should proceed directly to their vehicles and load the mail in an orderly fashion. With this understanding, I have argued that the time you switch to the street is when you have the ability to go directly from the workroom floor to the vehicle to load. This means that any trips to the DPS, a countable cage, or other things that must be undertaken first prior to switching. Many people in these stations have reported that at various points in their morning routine, management is establishing a new definition of this. In my office, they said you switch as soon as you touch packages, which is in conflict with the fact that we have the right to case spurs. How are you supposed to case your spurs when you're not allowed to look through the packages to find them? Maybe in some offices they're already separate, but not in mine. In another office, they tried to say prior to picking up your DPS. Again, inappropriate because it says here in 125.1 of the M39 that you switch to the street as soon as you have a direct line. Direct. These are issues as it relates to Article 5. If they are now suddenly trying to change your practices. But not only are they in conflict with Article 5, but also with the cited provision I talked about. It very clearly states that when you switch to street, you should proceed directly to your vehicle and load. Words matter, and directly is very particular. I do believe this came about when we used to have a punch clock, and normally they would keep that punch clock at the door. So that would make sense. You would grab all the things on the way to the door, punch to the street at the door where there's a clock, and then proceed directly to your vehicle. This was probably to avoid any sort of lingering on the way to the vehicle. Maybe you wanted to go to your car to grab a charger. That should be undertaken under personal time. This is what I would call conditioning the frog, though. They're constantly trying to push their boundaries in terms of what they can get away with in order to shorten the time of your route. And it is up to us to push back. They're hoping that carriers won't fight it, and they won't know where to find the provisions that would support fighting back. And this is where we come in. This is where I like having a voice on this podcast. If you think you have a better provision to quote, please let me know, and I'll share it on the Facebook. But this is what I got to share. They often count on us not understanding our rights. We need to make sure we stay strong. We need to make sure we stay diligent and educated on this and every issue on the workroom floor. If this is happening in your office, I suggest you file a grievance as it pertains to Article 5 and 19 via the M39 and ask that they cease and desist this behavior. As always, thank you for listening today. Hope you learned something valuable. Have a good day out there.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. grievance genius, and the Roseville Wrecking Ball, doing amazing work.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.